did you see that fight playing out for you?
What, from round one?
The first Tyson Fury fight.
Relax. I can see everything he's doing. I analyze it. I react well, and I don't want to say too much, but basically when I'm in front of him, like for other people, the world moves at 1,000,000. Like the boxer in front of you is moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour, but for me, I know how to slow down the fighter so I can see everything coming. So I'll just be in my zone and I'll be able to see everything happening, because in my mind I can slow down everything because I know how to deal with the pressure. I've been on the big stage in it, so I think that's helped me be able to deal with a lot of pressure. So in my mind, I can really manage. When you're tense, like if I flinch, you're gonna, like, you know what I mean? You react. You don't really know how to parry, defend, slip. I'll just be very relaxed in there, very relaxed but very alert, very relaxed but very kind of like Canelo. You know what I mean? He doesn't look like he comes out of first gear. He's just very alert and very relaxed. Knows how to walk forward. Yeah, that approach.
Do we see the style from Ruiz too, or do we see the style from Pulev?
You see a style. You will just see a style that's there to win. Honestly, I don't actually go in the fight thinking this is how I'm going to box. I just know what it takes to win. I just feel like in my heart of hearts, I'll do whatever I have to do to win. And that's my main priority, just to go in there and do whatever it takes to win a fight.
What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. So we just heard there from Anthony, the landlord, Joshua. Now, obviously, end of the day, this is right here. What the YB said was right here. This video came out about 8 months ago now, back in December. And essentially, this was back when AJ in Fury was alleged to be on. It was just after AJ finished filling in Pulev. Yeah? And end of the day, at that point in time, I was kind of sour. Why? Because I'm hearing AJ talk about performing like Canelo Alvarez, saying things like, yep, I want to be in front of Fury, I want to watch what's coming. And these are the things I've been saying. No word of a lie. People who follow my channel know that. What have I said? When you spend a lot of time in the pocket, focused, watching what's coming back, slowing things down, elbows in, chin down, watching what's coming. If it's a hook, you're catching. If it's a straight shot, you're parrying. Obviously that's simple, but that's the muscle memory. That's the experience you need in training. And in my opinion, AJ hasn't had that experience in training, in as much as what happened when Ruiz was rattling combinations. He was flustered. So there's a bit of a disconnect here, in my opinion, from what I'm seeing. Because what a good camp would have done after the first Ruiz loss would have been the things he's talking about here. He talks about, okay, now I can handle pressure, or I've learned how to handle pressure under the lights, and I can watch what's coming. But in my opinion, that's not what happened in the second fight. You could have done that. You could have gone in there and said, you know what, I've prepared for the fire. I'm going to show everyone how I've changed from the first fight. In the first fight against Ruiz, yes, there was extenuating circumstances in my opinion, but either way, whatever way you look at it, AJ was under pressure from a quick fighter. He's never really been put under pressure like that with 4, 5, 6 punch combos. Fighting Dillian, it's 1s and 2s. As is most heavyweights. It's an unusual situation to find yourself in. Which is why you have to put yourself in them situations in training. In particular, focusing on defense. Especially with fighters like AJ who are naturally steamrolling people for their whole career. Seldomly do you find yourself in a situation where you're under fire. And it's going to be, as I've said, it's going to be pretty rare anyway to find yourself in a heavyweight fight under 5, 6 punch combinations. But either way, AJ found himself in that place in the first fight, which isn't, in my opinion, it's probably one of the best lessons to learn. Because guess what? If you can learn and adapt, if you can learn and move on your defense to be able to handle Ruiz, you can handle anyone. People like Fury is light work, because Fury ain't as quick as Ruiz, and Fury ain't as offensively acute as Ruiz, in my opinion. Now, what did AJ do in the second fight? Did AJ go into that second fight and show us how he has learnt to deal with what Ruiz was good at? Did he show us that? No, he didn't. He kind of changed the rules of the game. The first fight was about, okay, me and you, let's see who's the better guy at coming forward almost. Ruiz got the better of him, bottom line. I've done videos on it. AJ's defense was sloppy. His elbows were in the air. And when I say elbows in, chin down, oh, YB, it's not as simple. Yeah, well, it is. That's where you start. You start there, and guess what? I've done a video on it. Go and watch the footage. AJ didn't have his elbows in, his chin down. His elbows are in the air. His arms are wide open. He's swaying all around the place. There weren't no calmness. There weren't no watching what's coming and reacting. There weren't no strategy, defensive strategy. The things he talks about here, he wasn't doing in the first fight. And again, in the second fight, we didn't get to see it either. Why? Because he changed the rules of the game. A good camp would have done the things he's talking about here, i.e., okay, we just got beat. Why did we get beat? We got beat because we didn't have any defensive strategy. AJ didn't know, or whether he knew or not, he wasn't doing it. He didn't know how to tuck up and catch hooks and parry right hand. Ruiz was hitting AJ with the right hand all night. Why? Because AJ's guard was wide. There's different types of guards you can have. For example, Lennox Lewis talked about this. Lennox Lewis talked about he said to Manny Stewart that he was sick of getting hit on the lip. And Manny Stewart said that's because your guard's hugging the side of your face rather than coming more central. So if you tuck your right hand in, closer towards your mouth obviously, it's not as wide open. Naturally, many people when they put their elbows in and their chin down, their guard's wide open, which is open for the straight shots, as AJ found himself. So again, you have different hand positions. And really, in my opinion, in my experience, if you get your chin down low enough, you can actually defend the straight shot and the hook just by having your gloves in tight as well. If you put your gloves together in front of your face and put your chin right down, your hands are 2 inches away from everything you need to protect, more or less. As I've explained in my video, my demonstration video. But I'm not talking rocket science here, but either way, the principles AJ mentioned in this video, we didn't get to see in the Ruiz rematch. And I believe those were the elements which would have made him a more proficient offensive demon. Which is, in my opinion, what AJ should be focusing on. He should be focusing on perfecting. You're never going to knock everyone over. Which is why I find it so contradictory what we've seen from AJ, in as much as he lost a fight and then he decided to completely change the game rather than double down on himself and say, you know what, yeah, I lost a fight, but I'm going to come back now and prove I am the better train, I am the better hammer than Ruiz, because Ruiz ain't all that. So why you lose one fight and then you just completely lose yourself and try and change it all up, which is what he did. He didn't come back and say, you know what, I'm going to show Ruiz how I can be calm under pressure, how I can watch the shots that are coming, I can react to them. Show me where you saw AJ catch a shot and counter. Show me where you ever saw AJ defensively engage with Ruiz. Show me where Ruiz, or show me where AJ allowed Ruiz to test his defense. Because for me, that would have been one of the key points. In my camp, training AJ for Ruiz 2, yeah, I'd have said to him, listen, early in this fight, we want to, maybe not in the first round, because you don't want to be reckless, but even then, who knows? Depending on how confident he was, I don't see why not, but ultimately, I can understand why maybe not in the first few rounds. What I would have said to AJ is, listen, in the first round or two, just get comfortable. Establish a jab. On from there, in the first half of the fight for sure, we want to let Ruiz know that we want to show Ruiz our improvements. We want to let him know that he ain't going to be rattling off shots again and they're all going to be landing and he's going to have us bamboozled. We want to let him know we're a different fighter now. We want to let him know what time it is, i.e. Ruiz, you can come forward. Because I'm not being funny here, the things Ruiz was doing wasn't rocket science. If you actually watch carefully, he wasn't picking shots. Like, for example, when you look at Alvarez's work, what Alvarez does well, he doesn't have the volume, but he does tend to, he has pretty high play. He's like, his accuracy, his placement, he picks shots well. That's what Alvarez does. He hits to the, it's not rocket science, but again, he picks to the body, he picks to the head. Ruiz weren't doing that. Ruiz was just chugging away, just chugging. Head. I don't remember. You showed me a good body shot Ruiz landed against AJ. He weren't throwing none. He was all head hunting, which makes it even worse. Because how was AJ getting hit when all he was going for was your head? You know, Ruiz wasn't all that offensively acute himself. He was just banging away, and someone was landing. So, in my opinion, in that second fight, AJ should have gone in there and showed him how his defense has improved. Look at Ali. Ali spent rounds on the ropes. What's the word? Not getting knocked out. Riding shots. Why couldn't AJ have learnt that in the camp? And Ali did it against much more prolific punchers than AJ had to deal with. Especially when you consider now that Ruiz weren't even training and Ruiz was in his worst shape ever. Especially when you consider now what's that man? I forgot his name. Areola. What Areola did to Ruiz. Areola exposed how bad Ruiz really is, which makes me even more frustrated seeing how scary, how shook AJ came into that second fight. Completely unwarranted. He should have gone in there and said, listen, from round one, I'm going to show this man in round one, this ain't the fight he thinks it's going to be. In that second fight, Ruiz was validated. Ruiz was feeling himself. He was pointing to the centre of the ring. Fight me, stop running, is what he essentially said, which is, in my opinion, I have to agree with him, I have to concur. There's no way Ruiz was good, and all you so-called AJ fans, yeah, oh, YB, he had to learn, he had to adapt. Learn and adapt from what? From Ruiz? From this current crop of heavyweights? You joking? I'm telling you now, categorically, there's no one in this heavyweight division who AJ needed to adapt to that extent from. I'm not saying, I've never said AJ should go into every fight with his chin in the air, just swinging left and right, as he more or less does, or was doing. In the first Ruiz fight, he got stuck in and was just plugging away. There weren't no finesse to it whatsoever. Similar, really, to the Ruiz. Even the Ruiz, and that's what I'm saying, AJ offensively hasn't improved. Look at the Pulev fight. He got away with it, but look how, some of you man like it, but I'm telling you now, the way AJ came forward against Pulev in that third round, or whatever round, second or third round, it was sloppy. That's how he got caught in the Ruiz fight, by the way. It's only because Pulev is super scary, super shook himself. Watch how primitive AJ comes forward against Pulev in that third round. He's just swinging massive shots, and he's stumbling, leaning over and overreaching. That's how he got caught last time. If Ruiz, the difference is Ruiz is obviously a combination puncher, and Ruiz also is a counter puncher with hooks. Pulev, he's just too old and no good, and doesn't have any offense whatsoever. But another fighter could have easily capitalized in that third round and caught AJ, because he weren't refined. He wasn't like Alvarez, picking shots and touching to the body. In fact, again, even AJ, what was he doing in the Pulev fight? Headhunting. I didn't see AJ throw one power shot to the body, all to the head. Why? AJ's always done that. I've never seen AJ dig a... In fact, I can't... You man, show me one fight you've seen AJ dig a good body shot in. Power body shot. Haven't seen it. Why? Like I told you, McCrappen don't know what he's doing, and more specifically, they haven't improved his offensive prowess. The Ruiz loss happened, and they've completely shut down the offense, and it's all defense. But the worst kind of defense. It's not high IQ defense. It's, okay, let's score points and run. Not even score points. Let's just kind of be awkward. Let's just step in with a jab and step out. Disengage. Jab, disengage. That's what it is now. Jab, disengage. 1-2, disengage. It's the most wasteful type of boxing. Especially when you've got a super athlete like AJ. a once in a lifetime, a once in a century athlete, and you're treating it like it's a whatever. That's how that's how Tom Little fights like that. That's because it's all he can do. And don't get me wrong, AJ makes it look good because, like I said, he's a super athlete. AJ can box as well as Fury. Doing that running around is crap. That doesn't make it right though. That doesn't mean he's fulfilling his potential. His potential, as I've explained, would be no one in this heavyweight division today going more than 6 rounds. That's where an optimum AJ would be trained to. No one should be making it out of the 6th round against AJ in this current heavyweight crop. They're not good enough to do it, in my opinion. Instead, we've got Pulev going 10, however many rounds. Oh, YB, you keep getting it wrong. It's not 11 rounds, it's 10. Well, however many, it's too many. Really, the fight should have been done in the 2nd or the 3rd. Oh, but YB, it was done in the 3rd. No, it wasn't. Let's get serious now. It wasn't done in the 3rd at all. Not how it should have been done. And the fact that AJ says here that, yeah, looking like Canelo, you ain't looking like Canelo. Canelo went running out the back door every 2 seconds. And he even mentions the coming forward part. Obviously, he doesn't elaborate, but bottom line is, I told you, man, what he said. This is back in December. Coogan said, AJ, when you fight Fury, how do you want to perform? He said, I want to be calm, I want to be cool, I want to watch what's coming. I'm catching, I'm parrying, I'm coming forward, similar to Canelo Alvarez. And he does do it in boxing today, and even historically, to be fair. As far as cutting the ring off goes like a metronome, in terms of consistency, he's one of the best ever at doing that. Now, I do think the current crop are poor, but much like, to be fair, Alvarez and AJ find themselves in a similar situation, in as much as both of their divisions, on a historical basis, are pretty weak. They are really the only Hall of Famers in the division, if the truth be known. Which is a shame, because what made some of these fighters truly great is the fact they was competing against people, they were competing against their peers. But that said, because AJ doesn't have a Lennox and Tyson and a Holyfield, you should be taking advantage of that and saying, you know what, my era's one of the weakest eras, but I'm going to make sure I put my stamp on it and show the level I am. Instead, rather than saying that, it's almost like AJ's like, oh well, I just want to win. In fact, even in this interview, he actually goes on to say, oh well, as long as I get the win. No, not as long as you get the win. I'll just do enough to win. Doing enough to win in this current division isn't good enough. Just to do, just doing enough to win, you're better than that, I believe. These guys ain't good enough to get you to win. Again, like the second Ruiz fight, that wasn't good enough. In my opinion, AJ is better than the 12-round decision over Ruiz. He should have been stopped. If Chris Arreola can put Ruiz down, if Chris Arreola can put the best Ruiz in history down, which it was, that Ruiz was the best trained Ruiz, the lowest weight, the best trainer. Eddie Reynoso in the corner. Ruiz was fully on it. If 40-year-old Chris Arreola can put Ruiz down, don't tell me AJ shouldn't have filled him all the way in. And back to the ultimate point here, AJ said, and this was back in December again, when the Fury fight was going to be on, he said he wants to perform like Alvarez. Now we've got the Usyk fight coming up now, which is why I'm doing this video, because they're both, in my opinion, they're both similar. I've always said this AJ's run-up to Fury is going to be one of the best run-ups in history, in as much as it's perfect. Pulev was the closest thing you're going to get to Fury kind of style. Usyk is, again, the closest thing you're going to get to Fury style. And then Fury, it's almost like, in my opinion, it's almost like building up. Pulev, Usyk, Fury. That makes sense to me. Fury's got the size over Usyk. Usyk's got the skill over Pulev, but they're all kind of on the same trajectory. Just different levels. Fury's the A at heavyweight, Usyk's the B, and Pulev's the C. Perfect run-up, but you've got to approach them how you want to approach them. It's no good fighting these people and what was the Pulev fight? There weren't no strategy there. There weren't no calmness. You weren't watching shots that are coming and catching and countering and coming forward. These are the things that all came out of your mouth in December. But we didn't see that in the Pulev fight. We're not seeing it in sparring either, because again, I don't know, some of you AJ fans, what are we doing in? Do you think AJ said this for fun? Oh, I wanna look like Canelo. I wanna perform like Canelo. I wanna come forward. Why are you saying that for? Because I don't care what no one says. Scrap that. What you man watch Alvarez. Show me where Alvarez is just dancing around and nipping a jab in. That's what Billy Ho Saunders does. That's what Tyson Fury does. They skeet around the side of the ring and nip a jab in and step out. That's what they do. That's all they do. And maybe they put an odd 1-2 in, or maybe they do a quick hook off the jab. That's it. And that's what AJ be doing now. I'm sorry, it's the truth. Apart from that spurt in round whatever it was, in round 10 or round 3, what else was there? What else? Show me what else consistency. Show me where it looked like Canelo Alvarez. Alvarez doesn't dance backwards. The only time I see Alvarez dance backwards is if his opponent comes steaming forwards, and that's on the rare occasion. Sometimes, every now and then, I'll notice that if his opponent comes forward, he'll sometimes completely disengage, but it's rare. Alvarez will disengage a handful of times in a fight. More times than not, if his opponent comes forward, if you watch Triple G fight, when Triple G comes forward, he tucks up and he's ready to catch and counter. Why? Because him and his team, when someone's prepared to catch and counter, when someone's prepared to meet their opponent's offense toe to toe, that's basically saying the fighter and their team believe that they're more dangerous than their opponent. Does that make sense? If you're in camp with your trainer and you've trained to meet your opponent head on, the fighter and their team believe that they're more dangerous than their opponent, innit? That's what you're basically saying. I don't need to go backwards. You need to be worried about me, not the other way around. You go back. And that's what happened in the second Golovkin fight. Golovkin was the one who got turned into the boxer. For whatever reason, I've never seen Golovkin dance around and try and box. For whatever reason, Alvarez made him box. Golovkin fans can be mad about that, but it's the truth. Yeah? Golovkin won. I didn't hear Golovkin talking about boxing against anyone else. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. And that's the point here. There's levels to this game. There is alpha and beta. Golovkin conceded in that second fight. Not so much the first fight, but the second fight he conceded. That's what it's a battle of. And I'm sorry, AJ conceded against Ruiz. There's no doubt about that. He didn't dominate the centre of the ring. He wasn't pushing the pace. He wasn't pressing forward. He was dancing, jabbing, disengaging. Dancing, jabbing, disengaging. Don't get me wrong, I've given him credit. I've said, listen, you can box, you can Tyson Fury and Billy Ho Saunders with the best of them. That doesn't mean I want to see it. That doesn't mean it makes it right. That doesn't mean you're fulfilling your potential. You're doing what I knew you could do. I've always said that. I've always said you're an elite athlete, the top of the top. Once in a century kind of thing. Which means that you can make it all look good. You can make the long look good, but we're yet to see you really invest. And it's not even, to be fair, it's not all AJ's fault, because his team don't know what they're doing. That's the ultimate thing here. It's about guidance. Because guess what? If we had Cus D'Amato in the corner, or Shane McGuigan, it wouldn't be acceptable. Do you understand? Cus D'Amato wouldn't allow AJ to be. It wouldn't even cross Cus's mind. That's not what we do here. Show me where you saw Mike Tyson jabbing and disengaging, or even Manny Stewart. We've seen that kind of training. Or even look at Okoli. Okoli was that kind of guy. Jab, jab, grab. Show me where that's been since he got with Shane. Okoli went years of ingraining a certain way of fighting. He spent 6 months to a year with McGuigan and it's all gone out the window. He's a complete new fighter. That's the influence of a trainer. So AJ's verbalising he wants to look like Alvarez, but he ain't looking nothing like Alvarez. That's the trainer. But equally, AJ's the boss man. And he says that Rob McCrappen's the gaffer. Rob McCrappen's Alex Ferguson. So again, ultimately the buck does end with AJ. Because if he can't see the wood from the trees and see that the direction ain't right, which it ain't, to beat Usyk, to beat Fury, the worst thing is, I've got a video coming soon, even Ben Davidson said, he said that I've seen some clips from AJ, and it looks like he may try and outbox him. That's going to be a hard night's work. That's going to be an average night's work. How AJ differentiates himself from Usyk is his size, his offensive prowess, combinations, power. I mean, look at Chisora. Chisora ain't no AJ. Chisora was half paid off as well, and look at that. He was literally playing with Usyk. I felt bad for Usyk. Usyk was blowing, knackered, just trying to stay in the game against Chisora, who's a pretty standard heavyweight, top level, but standard top level. And Usyk was blowing, trying to keep his head above water. AJ's a complete different level of fury. I mean, look at Joseph Parker versus AJ. That's another perfect example. AJ was in there, dominating the centre of the ring. He was the ring general. He was driving with the jab, looking for trouble. Elbows was in, guard was nice and tight. Now, don't get me wrong. In that instance, he was dealing with single shots, if that makes sense. Which is why the Ruiz thing was such a shock. But it wasn't a shock that was, oh, we can never learn from this. It's almost like how they came back from Ruiz 2 was, oh wow, this is some UFO thing. We can never compete with this. We must completely change our identity if we want to survive. What? What are you talking about? Take about a month to prepare to beat Ruiz. With people who know what they're doing. But anyway, listen. I don't know what to tell you, man. You heard there from the horse's mouth. He wants to perform like Alvarez. So my question to you AJ fans, yeah? Or you super AJ fans who think there's nothing wrong, yeah? You man tell me, why does he verbalise that, but we don't see it? All we should be seeing right now, especially going into a fight, yeah, with a cruiserweight, all we should be seeing is Canelo-esque training. I've got goofy people telling me, YB, you know, oh, this is only a small clip. You said that last time. You man were the same ones when I was giving my concerns about before the Pulev fight. YB, you don't see all of his training. Stop. That's old now. We've seen how Ruiz 2 played out. We've seen how Pulev played out. You can't keep saying we haven't seen all the training. Because where was the aggressive fighting against Ruiz then? Where was the aggressive fighting against Pulev? The reality is, this is the new AJ. Bottom line. And I don't like it. I'm not subscribing to it. This isn't his, he's not fulfilling his potential. Why can't people say, oh, YB, look, it's great, he's learnt new skills. Why can't he learn the offensive side of boxing? Why can't he learn the offensive skills? When I say that, I mean the full offensive package. I don't mean, people like some casual muppets, oh, YB, you just want to see loads of blood. What are you talking about? You ain't got a clue what you're on about, and that's the problem. You don't know what you're on about, that's your problem. Because if you did know boxing, you'd know that what I'm getting at is there's a skillful way of going about things. Again, look at Alvarez. He don't just plough forward with his chin in the air and swing left and right. Everything he does is to a high level. Why can't AJ approach it the exact same way he talks about it now? I'm struggling with the disconnect. So like I said, you man tell me why we're not seeing what AJ talks about here. Tell me why. Tell me what's going on. Is AJ just saying it for the sake of it? Is he lying to himself? Oh, I want to perform like this, but then all I know is it ain't adding up for me. Something's missing here.